the reality is that the vast majority of Muslims, their Islam is the Islam of peace, is the Islam of pluralism, the Islam that believes in interaction, in engagement, in freedom of speech. So as Muslims, I believe it is our responsibility that we do not remain silent anymore. And we must be very vocal, very open in publicly condemning terrorism, because it is being done in the name of our faith. And these terrorist attacks, whether they are in any Muslim or non-Muslim country, they damage not only peace, but at the same time they distort the message of Islam and they destroy the teachings of Islam. So as Muslims, it is a responsibility to come out and publicly disapprove it, condemn it, and to show others, those that do not know about Islam or those whose understanding of Muslims comes from just the media, for example, and not direct interaction with Muslims, to give a message to everyone, to them, that we as Muslims disapprove and these actions have nothing to do with our faith.
How many of the people who attend your mosque do you fear may be at risk of radicalization?
There is absolutely a real risk. That risk is because of two reasons. Number one, because of social media. A lot of youngsters, they gain their information, knowledge about Islam from social media because unfortunately Muslim leadership have failed to engage with the youngsters, with the youth. Many of the Muslim imams in this country do not speak English. How will they communicate the teachings of Islam to the youth that speaks English and do not speak Arabic or Urdu or other languages? So that is one of the challenges. The other challenge is that many Muslim scholars or imams or organizations do not speak at all, do not condemn terrorism, extremism in Friday lectures, for example. They remain silent. When, for example, someone makes a caricature of the Prophet Muhammad, they dedicate the whole lecture on it. When Palestine is being oppressed, they dedicate a whole lecture on it, which is absolutely good. But at the same time, why remain silent when our religion is being defined as a religion of terror?
Your colleague at the Islamic Cultural Centre in Clonskeagh, Dr. Ali Salem, who we've spoken to on this programme before, believes there is no extremism in Ireland amongst the Muslim population. Do you agree?
I disagree, absolutely. And if there is no extremism among the Muslim community in Ireland, then please explain to me, why is it that there are some youngsters that left the borders of Ireland to join fights in Syria and Iraq? If there is no extremism, then how do we explain this?
Have you counselled people who have been tempted to go to Syria, to join IS?
I have spoken to parents. Parents have come to me from various different traditions or different ethnic backgrounds, from Somalian, Sudani to Arab to Pakistani. All had one fear, and they said that when we look at the news, what is happening in the UK, where 700-800 youngsters from different ethnic backgrounds, Muslims, have traveled abroad to join ISIS, for example, we are worried about our children. And they have come to us, and they have asked us to engage more with the youth. This is one of the things. The other thing is we have, for example, I have personally met many youngsters that have expressed initially, this is a year or 2 years ago, their wish and desire to join the so-called Islamic State. I until today speak to some youngsters that are very ambiguous, that do not really know what the position is of Islam on the Islamic State. So yes, there are some youngsters and these are very vulnerable youngsters. And unfortunately, these are the type of youngsters that are the target of the extremists to be brainwashed.
We have seen cases in England where the Muslim population is bigger, of entire families, of groups of friends, 15, 16-year-old girls who are travelling over there on a pretext, and I'm sure living a very different and quite a horrific life under Islamic State. Is it a matter of time before that happens to somebody here, or is it something that you feel as a community you have managed to contain so far?
Well, so far, I believe we are doing our best to stop radicalization. But at the same time, my fear is that there are communities that may have larger percentage or larger number of people that listen to them. These organizations are silent. These organizations have no plan.
So do you feel that they are not doing enough to combat extremism?
Absolutely. I think that they are ignoring that there is an element of extremism that can be, unfortunately, that can expand. And we should have prevention strategies. Even if one person from Ireland left Ireland, a youngster, a teenager who was born here, who was brought up here and left the borders of Ireland to join ISIS or to join Iraq or Syria, we should question Why did that take place? And nobody has, except of the Irish Muslim Peace and Integration Council, nobody has questioned that. We should have a very straight, very important plan to ensure that Muslims and people of other faiths all live in a plural society, all live peacefully with each other.
Can I just finish up by asking you, Sheikh Umar, in the context of the wider discussion, the reporting on the news of these horrific atrocities that are being committed by people linked to the Islamic State, as a devout Muslim, as somebody who practices your faith every day, the fact that it is called the Islamic State, how does that sit with you?
It is absolutely worrying and disheartening, disappointing. I believe that we should not call it the Islamic State. This is the so-called. It is actually an un-Islamic state. So I would argue that all media should not give legitimate authority to these people, to these extremists, by calling it an Islamic State, because it confuses even youngsters, even young Muslim people, vulnerable people that do not know. When they hear about an Islamic State, they will assume that maybe it is an Islamic State, while it is not. So I would argue, and I would request the media to not refer to it as the Islamic State. As in the Arab world, these people are known, or this group is known as Daesh, not the Islamic State. So we can refer to it as the Daesh also.